it just kind of shocks me how some people can be so fucking blind, so brainwashed to support these groups that go out and just hurt people.
Well, again,
terrorists, and they see it as their time. It's their right, like to go into someone's shop and take someone's wife and beat them with a 2x4 and force the husband to watch. That shit was on the news, and like, what the fuck?
Well, again, now it's fear more than anything. Okay, you can go with two hypotheses. The first hypothesis is that people are smart cowards. And then when you have that hypothesis or that premise, the conclusion is that if people know that this isn't like the protests aren't about race, then they're just again drinking the Kool-Aid to keep the bills paid, or drinking the Kool-Aid so they don't get shot by someone else. At least they're dying on their own terms or whatever. So that's one theory as to what's going on. The other theory is that people are genuinely too stupid to know better. And then with that question, you already answered. It's a self-answering question. So, I think that it's kind of both, in the sense that the variation in IQ, as if assuming that IQ itself is the sole parameter that would allow us to distinguish between people who drink the Kool-Aid and who doesn't. I think the results are just really messy and more atomized. These two people are mixed up together: the smart cowards and the dumb people who genuinely believe the bullshit.
Fucking traitor!
Oh well,
what is this?
What did I tell you? What did I tell you about the American right? They're a bunch of impotent pussies. They're too afraid of the PR. They're too afraid of the optics. They're too afraid of the mobs. They are.
He voted Trump guilty when they were trying to impeach him.
Well, does it really surprise you anymore?
It was only one.
Do you see how we're
what's
fighting?
With the one glove? What's with the one glove? Why does he have one glove?
I first thought.
Why does one arm look longer than the other arm? What is going on? By the way, I can
see both your emails on there. Look at the top right.
I'm not recording. I told you I wasn't recording.
Well, okay. I guess I can.
We were just kind of like.
Well, I can edit it out on my copy of the recording. So, okay. Anyways, the right is a bunch of cowards, and they're enabling the left to do everything.
Stop. Say that again. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Okay. So, moral of the story. Without even reading this article, this has confirmed something that I already know. The right is a bunch of cowards who believe in doing right, and they're the people who are morally right, but practically wrong. Now, the left is the opposite. They are morally wrong, but practically right. So, what happens here is that the Republicans hold the moral high ground. They're the ones who genuinely have deep inside, what if they were in infinite power, they would have fixed all of these problems in the country. Well, to a certain extent. Afterwards, when they start to push if they try to restore if the absolutist right, which is not the GOP, by the way, if they came back into power, then we have the Roman Catholic Church again, and then there'll be all this religious genocide and all kinds of fucking problems, which is just as bad as communism, honestly. But okay, so anyways, so the Republicans have values and principles and moral structure. They are the Immanuel Kant of American politics. The left takes the Machiavellian approach. They have absolutely no principles whatsoever. The Democrat Party is a constantly evolving virus. They jump from talking point to talking point without abandon, just to get to the next election to get the power. And because they are willing to break the rules, supposedly, for example, in the Constitution, that's why they are winning. And the Republicans are so, I guess, either they're too cowardly or they're too ignorant to realize that they're losing because they play by the rules that Western society, culture, morality has supposedly set on them. So until they quote unquote stoop to the left's level, they will continue losing. And because of universal suffrage, the right has to basically abandon everything they used to believe in order to stay politically relevant. Otherwise, they just get voted out of office. People like you and me, what's going to happen is like, okay, the second we mention that we're going to cut welfare for anybody, not just black people, not just any other race, not just one particular race, anyone, period, God forbid single moms, we will be immediately kicked out of office. Our campaign would end on that day, and all of our campaign money would be just like flushed down the toilet. So that is that once again, that's the real problem. That's the point I really want to make in these videos, is that, at least right now, why have one tyrant 3,000 miles away when you can have 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. The real tyrant here is the mob. These politicians are powerless. What the fuck are they gonna do? All it takes the riot to do all the riot needs to do to take over the government is just surround the government buildings, and the government can't open fire because there's cameras everywhere. There's way too many bad optics. And then they're powerless right now. Used to be they're the oppressors just a few months ago, right? But nope. That's a lesson that
I do agree with you. We are in a time of mob rule. Okay, so sorry, I didn't get this in at the start. So if there's anyone still watching, which there probably isn't, because people's attention spans are like, what, 30 seconds now? 15 seconds?
I'd say about
like
10.
and subscribe if you're new, and please leave a comment down of what you think of my video. If you don't like it, please tell me why you don't like it in detail. I don't care if you're mean or how hateful you get. Let me know why you don't. I like reading. Okay, so I have seen a lot of people saying that Mitt Romney is a politician without a side now because of what he did. Trump kind of stabbing him in the back when they were voting on his impeachment. What are your thoughts on that? And more specifically, what are your exact thoughts of him going out and walking with the protesters? You already kind of said that he was pretty much showing weakness and just kind of submitting towards the mob. So maybe.
Well, I don't know what your commenters are going to say, and I already have my expectations below ground at this point. So if you're going to ask me, it's really simple. It's all about numbers. Regardless of whether or not he actually believes it, the amount of backlash due to the number of people that were born to subsidized genetic failures, dare we say, also known as welfarism, because of that large number, and then because of universal suffrage, he would lose for the same reason that we would lose if we ran for office. When you have enough people pushing back against you, it doesn't matter if you're right or not. If you don't tell the people the lie they want to hear, your career is over as a politician. So, we're all under the impression that being a politician gives you a lot of power. No, your fan base is what rules over you. You're powerless as one human being. Only when you give this promise to the people, whether it's like Trump with his, Trump steaks and Trump bucks and make America great again, or if it's like a fucking Stalin promising, a prosperity and wealth for all the countries since we all need to work together because, communism will work this time. Both of these politicians, the right and the left, have something in common, that they're selling something to the people, and for most of the time, it's bullshit. And even if it is successfully implemented, like the majority percentage of it is bullshit. But since you promised it to the people, and since people are in general are fucking stupid, or even if they aren't stupid, they don't know how economy and politics work. They still vote for you anyways. And also another thing, another adage that I'll say again and again till my dying breath: what's good politics is bad economics, and what's good economics is bad politics, because people don't know shit. So that's why he's doing this. But I don't know. Shall we look through the article to see if there's any details that might prove me wrong or cause me to revise my statement?
Probably not, but you can look through it yourself.
I don't know. It's hard for me to be surprised anymore. All right, Senator Mitt Romney of Utah marched with the demonstrators towards the White House on Sunday, appearing to be the first Republican senator to join thousands across the country protesting the death of George Floyd in police custody. Mr. Romney shared on Twitter a paragraph of himself marching among the crowd with the captions "Black Lives Matter." Mr. Romney, who marched with a group of Christians, take notes, take some quality notes right there, told a Washington Post reporter that he joined the protest to show that we need to end violence and brutality and make sure that that people understand that Black Lives Matter. Okay, what else you got for us, Mr. Romney? Joining the protest, Mr. Romney again found himself on at odds with President Trump, who pushed for military response to the unrest and standing apart from his party. And when he became the sole Republican senator to remove Mr. Trump from office. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God. Republicans have largely been vocal in condemning the police officers who've been charged in connection with Mr. Floyd's death, but few have publicly joined protesters as. And if you have joined the. Fuck, where'd I go? A few have publicly joined protesters marching across the country. Last week, Republican Representative Will Hurd of Texas, the lone black Republican in the House, joined a peaceful protest marching against Mr. Floyd's family. Democrats, by contrast, have made a point of supporting and participating in the rallies. Are you fucking kidding me? They are the rallies. It's called Antifa. Oh my God. Representative Joyce Beatty of Ohio was hit by pepper spray. Oh, okay, hold on. A side note. Remember, guns don't kill people. Guns pick themselves up and shoot people. And that's exactly what happened to Mrs. Beatty of Ohio here. She was hit by pepper spray. Nobody pepper sprayed her. The pepper spray can just started levitating and just like sprayed itself into her face.
Hey, I will say I discipline my guns that I make sure they get a proper beating so I know that they won't turn into a bunch of hoodlum guns that go around and shoot random black people.
Well, then we'll start to call like PETA or a CPS to confiscate your guns from you because you're abusing your guns. Hashtag gun lives matter.
No, there's just no way around it, is it?
I fucking told you, dude. Democrats are part of the rally. Excuse me, are the rally. Her state late last month, while Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California made a trip to last week to briefly speak to protesters gathered outside the Capitol. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon was seen to Saturday handing out water bottles to protesters marching through Washington, while Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York attended the protest and handed out masks to people walking by. Right, because as soon as the peaceful protests in honor of our Lord and Savior George Floyd, apparently that was the antidote to coronavirus, much more effective than hydroxychloroquine, because Orange Man bad. Right, okay. All right, so handing out masks and bottles. Okay, yeah, that's the other thing. Another thing that you got to realize, if you're a politician, you're basically a full-time ass kisser to tell people bullshit that you know is not true. Unless you're Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, then you don't know anything. Period. But given that you're not Ocasio-Cortez, you're basically a full-time ass kisser and bullshitter. And other than that, the only other thing that could help you become a politician is just having the right connections at the right time. And being a lawyer and doctor will get you in the door, but the ass kissing is what gets you to win. And yeah, so politicians are powerless right now. We have 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away. So anyways, the visibility of politicians at the protest does matter to a degree, said Vania Brown, a protester from Maryland who had come to join the marches in Washington on Sunday. But right now I'm skeptical of any political party. Oh, then what the fuck are you going to say about Antifa, huh? Oh, you don't see a goddamn thing. But look, as much as communism is a fucking meme, Antifa are smart. And they're trying they are a terrorist organization that is trying subversive tactics never seen before in at least public American knowledge of history. Who knows what the government knows? Who knows what the CIA does? But nevertheless, the Antifa is part of the left, but the left has control over the entire media, and the media is refusing to call out Antifa as what it is. And Antifa are a bunch of broke college students. Where does all the money come from? If it's if the college monies don't like unlike the NRA or any other right wing organization where it's just pretty much entirely private donors and the average person, the average redneck donating money on like a GoFundMe or whatever. And unlike the establishment Democrats who also collect money from just basically the people on Facebook or whatever, Antifa is getting its money entirely from like government grants because college students have a lot of time on their hands. So even though it's not a direct translation of money to money, it is like is money converted into the form of like a cost of opportunity to the conversion of time, and that's how we have Antifa. So somehow Antifa converted money into time, and then now that's how they have all this power, and they can stay somehow completely under the radar because they've rubbed enough elbows into the left where the left will just refuse to even acknowledge the existence of Antifa and instead shine all the spotlight onto the far right and then blame all the right for all the problems. Like there's already articles going around about how the Proud Boys or the Boogaloo Boys, quote unquote, just a fucking meme off of 4chan is now assembled as a new scapegoat for all these riots. Because even now they're like now it's almost like just a few days ago they're like, oh, it's if you don't like these protests then you're a racist. You think that George Floyd was a bad man who deserved to die. And now just like 5 days later they're like, oh, it's not even about race anymore, it's about class warfare. And Orange Man started it. And the Boogaloo Boys are his henchmen to produce all this chaos across the nation. So, and at this point, you got to ask yourself, what has Trump done? If I recall correctly, he passed his executive order, and even if the YouTube stops their censorship bullshit and Twitter is kept in check with the Constitution's fragment of a pimp hand, the norm, people, the left will start to dismiss you. The average, just average normie level people, they'll start to dismiss what you're saying. Anything that pops up on YouTube, because it's considered like, oh, well, you just learned, everything you know is just part of the YouTube Academy. I go with my reliable sources such as the television news. So the left still has an iron grip on legacy media, and legacy media is still the primary means of information to get out to the majority of American people, young and old. And eventually what I think is going to happen is that now that Trump has put throttles on the censorship bullshit that social media is doing, social media is going to be it's going to remain neutral, but since the Overton window is shifting left, the average person will start to think that that social media and YouTube is all right-wing conspiracy stuff. And since the left is still going to control legacy media, the left will consider legacy media the truth. And in the end, nothing has really changed after Trump passed this executive order. So, and that just goes once again, the real problem is the people letting these politicians. Well, the politicians are servants to the mob ultimately. Because where else do they get their vote? And they have to constantly cater to the voters because of universal suffrage. Even though China is, a totalitarian shithole and compared to, American values of freedom or whatever the hell, at least the government is cohesive and can get shit done in a short period of time. And whenever there's a bunch of idiots who want something, not only do they not get their wishes granted, and that keeps the country at least together in some degree, they just don't even speak it to begin with. Because they know that their words don't have any power. Because, okay, and also, I don't know, maybe we should, Maybe we should
It
finish
kind
the
of
article.
doesn't really talk much about.
Okay, well,
It's not really
and
talking a whole lot about him walking.
well,
About other.
it's so the Republicans are trying to keep their vote, but what they fail to realize is that regardless of how honest their intents are, certain things will work and certain things won't. So people are still going to hate Romney because he's an establishment Republican, and he's like the prop that the Democrat circus is supposed to be like lighting on fire and throwing shit at. And I guess ultimately, like he's even if he does cater to the left, they're just a lightning rod. They're giving people a false sense of they're giving the American right, the rednecks with their guns and their cabinets. The Republicans are there mainly at this point, functionally just serving as like a false sense of hope. Because the demographics are, I mean, well, first of all, the most people are they're just sheep, and if you offer something that it gives them immediate benefits, they will fight you to the death to get those immediate benefits, even if it screws them over in the long run, because delaying gratification or thinking of long-term consequences is just too hard and oppressive. In fact, it is racist. So that's why and that's why democracy is the ultimate reason why this is all this shit is happening to begin with. The Founding Fathers didn't want a democracy. They warned us about democracy, how it's just almost always a slip down into communism. But, a constitutional republic was too racist or sexist. So here we are, because equality.
We're on our way. And sure it'll come full circle soon.
Well, I can see you're mousing over the stop recording button. I just want to cram in one more statement. You wave your American flag all you want. You can, drink your beer, eat your burger, and wave your shotgun around. But the thing is, your patriotism is ultimately stupid. There is no America for you to fight for left. Your values are better found elsewhere at this point. And America was the best place for you to express, and appreciate your values of freedom. But it's just not that way anymore. This country is a walking corpse. And it's like one of the dumb zombies. It's not like one of those smart ones that can run. It's not like a Resident Evil zombie that can like speak, speak coherently and like shoot guns. No, it's a fucking dumbass zombie like The Walking Dead or something. This isn't America anymore. You're fighting for nothing.
As much as I hate to say it, you're right. And I've had a really hard bad, but been more accepting of it.
Nature. The reality is, countries come and go. Rome lasted for 500 years before it like fell apart, roughly. Well, the empire was like much longer than the republic, but once it started to turn into a democracy, and they started letting the Goths in and treating them like shit, and they failed to hold their own base down, and that's how the barbarians tore it apart. And they started balkanize by turning into like the western shithole, and then there was like the Byzantine, swapped the cardinal directions and may have got east and west mixed up, but regardless. So the Byzantine tried to hold it together, but then they're too small. So,
well, the main issue was they were too big. Their politics were shit, and they were too big, way too spread out, and they kind of faced that problem by creating roads. They loved building that out. So,
well, their politics are bad, and why?
Like they knew that they were
Who's the one that demanded bread in circuses? It's not the politicians. It wasn't Caesar, or whatever fucking emperor name you want to throw in there. It was the people. And without your people, you have no country. And that's exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah, but the people were the one.
The people are the problem. So
too many people and too few people owned everything.
Well, okay. Here's I don't know how much longer you want to go on about the recording time. It's 21 minutes, so it's your call. If you want me to shut up, just like let me know. Because here's a rather lengthy analogy to help you understand what's going on. Okay. Excuse me for nerding out with computer jargon, but people think that human social behavior, politics, economy, psychology, sociology is like a CPU, a central processor, where there's a small number of cores that can choose on their own whether to work independently or work together as in parallel, as like a multi-threaded or cooperative effort. And that is an accurate representation of the government. The government is usually, very smart or very rich or very well-equipped people who can decide whether to work together or not. And but that's just an analogy. That's just a way to understand the government. The people, which is obviously much bigger than the central processing unit, also known as the government. The people are like a GPU, a graphics card. Now, what is a graphics card? It is like literally thousands of little processors that are rather slow. However, the GPU usually can consume anywhere between like twice as much power. And when it comes to simple but lengthy jobs of computing, like I don't know, like rendering video, for example, the calculations are very simple, but due to the large number of calculations, a CPU cannot do all of it on itself. In fact, it does absolutely piss poor job, and that's why people don't have that's why gaming computers always have a GPU and not just a CPU. So in order to control the GPU with thousands of cores, if one of your cores burns out or dies or doesn't have enough power, shuts off, the GPU is pretty much virtually unaffected. However, whenever you want to adjust something with a GPU, you can't, unlike a CPU, you can't adjust the core speed individually because there's like literally thousands of them. You can't have 1,000 knobs on your computer screen. So whenever you make an adjustment to the GPU, it applies to all of the cores, regardless. And there's slight variations on which cores are doing which job, and they respond very, slightly differently. But in the end, the cumulative effect is still basically a one single string of data. You put too much voltage into the entire GPU, all thousands of cores, it gets too hot and the whole thing crashes. You put too little, and you turn the clock speed too high. You work them too hard and don't give them enough power, then they crash, and your game crashes, and you got to restart your computer. And that's a very good way to explain the abstraction of human social behavior and how economics and politics and psychology all tie together. Psychology only explains like one core in the GPU, but economy and politics is the way to understand how all of the cores, the thousands of GPU cores, work together as one graphics card. So whenever you turn something up, you turn you start to incentivize a behavior, you get more of it. You punish a behavior, you get less of it. And in the end, just like how you understand a GPU where, more voltage, more heat, less voltage, less stability, you can boil down economics and politics in very much a similar manner. So when it comes to these riots, opening fire on these rioters who are destroying buildings, burning shit down, costing the city a lot of money, and taking no responsibility for it.
Hurting private businessmen.
Yes. Including black business owners, which nobody fucking talks about, I guess.